to this video, and I want to sincerely, plead with you that you carefully and dutifully watch this video from beginning to the end. This video is specifically for people writing Waec 2024, NECO 2024. So you are a student, you're writing Waec for this year, which is 2024, or you're writing NECO 2024. It's going to help you, even for people that are going to be writing for subsequent years. It's going to help them. If you are a chemistry or educator too, I think this will help you to be able to prepare your students, to tell them what they need to know in order to excel, in order to come out with flying colors in their exam. So today I'm going to be sharing top secret, and I'll tell you why I had to say it's a top secret. The top secret of getting A1, of getting A1, of getting A1 in chemistry. I've seen a lot of students lament after they have toiled, they have worked, they have done all what they could do, they are not still getting that A1. How do students get A1 in chemistry? How will they get A1 in chemistry? I decided to do this content because around two schools has actually called me to come and prepare their students for this oncoming Waec, this 2024 Waec. And when I got there and I began to explain a lot of things, I saw a lot of ignorance in the part of the students, probably because they have not been taught before. A whole lot of things I need to correct, a whole lot of things. And I tell you, if they have gone to the examination hall with this very particular mindset, or with this very particular, knowledge of this very particular exam, it would have affected them tremendously. So I decided to say, okay, let me put this out as a content. It will help a lot of students out there. It will help teachers too to be able to see the method, to be able to, instruct their students so they know what to do and what not to do. I will be sharing some files. I'm not supposed to share it, but I'll share these files because sometimes they are confidential files. But I want to share them so that you see these files and I begin to explain what this file means. So the first file I'll be sharing is the marking guide. I'm supposed to share the one for 2023, but it's not that clear. The one they sent to me is not that clear. So I will share the 2022 marking Waec guide. Okay, it's not the same thing, but the question is changing, but the mark allotted for those questions are the same. So either 2023 or 2022, the prototype is the same. The only thing is that the question is changing. So let me share the marking guide. I'll just share that briefly. Let me share the marking guide for 2022 Waec so that you guys see the way it looks like, and I'll be explaining something there. So let me show you now. Okay, this is it. This is the marking guide for Waec 2022. Can you see that now? Oh, I know some are already reading it already. I know you guys are reading it already. I'll be explaining a whole lot of things from this very particular marking guide. You can see it, the West African Examination Council, WACS for senior secondary, for school candidate 2022, final marking guide, chemistry 3 practical. Can you see that now? Marking guide, and I begin to say a lot of things. I'll explain them, don't worry. You can see titration, two concordant values, the candidate title in the table using averaging must be compared with the teachers. I'm going to explain a lot of information here, okay? Let me move on again. Let me move on to another one. Move on to the alternative A. You can see they said the maximum marks obtainable. Look at that. 50 marks, which means the mark obtainable in chemistry practical is 50 marks, which implies that if you have dutifully and carefully done your practical chemistry well, the probability that you are actually going to pass that exam excellently is high. According to what is here, maximum mark obtainable is 50 marks. Answer all questions. Definitely, in chemistry practical, you have to answer all questions. So your practical chemistry is very important. Not only chemistry, you are taking physics, you are taking biology, you are taking those subjects that are practical oriented. Please take those practical exams seriously. Don't trivialize them. Look at this. Maximum marks obtainable is 50 marks. Answer all questions. They are explaining a lot of things here too. This is the number one. I'm going to explain that now. Then, if you go to number two, question two, our qualitative analysis, you can see a lot of things they did there. I'm going to explain this too. Okay. The total questions for two. I mean, out of the 50 marks, okay, for number two, you have 18 marks. If you check down beneath that, this diagram I'm showing you, you're going to see total question two is 18 marks. So your qualitative analysis is 18 marks. Why the number three? If you look at that, okay, I'm showing the number three now. That's just a direct question, general chemistry question, maybe from practical, maybe from the one, from theory and the rest. And they said the total question three is 15 marks. You see that now? Is 15 marks. So which implies that your number two is 18 marks, your number three is 15 marks. That will make a total of what? Of 33, and that will now be minus 50. So your question one is 17 marks. I want to believe that is clear. That's according to the marking guide provided by Waec to the markers. And let me show you something again. Let me show you this before I now begin to explain a lot of things here. Let me show you this. Okay, now look at this. This form I am showing you is a teacher's report form. It's for teachers. I'm sure teachers will understand this thing I'm saying. You have a report form. So for every approved center, you are going to be given a teacher report form where you are going to be filling. This has to do with your number one specifically. So I'm not talking about one and two. If you look at the report form, you have number one, you have number two. Of course, teacher knows how to fill that. If you're a teacher, you don't know how to do this, you can always chat me up. There's a video that explains all this. I've done that. I explain preparation of laboratory reagents, how to fill report form, and a lot of things are in the video. So you can chat me. But I'll be explaining number three. And that's the reason why I'm showing this to students too. If you look at the number three, they said state the volume of air required to neutralize. They now wrote Roman figure one, Roman figure two, Roman figure three, then average. So the way you are recording your titers, the way you are recording your titration as a table too, the teacher is going to record his or her own. Now, not as a table, just as a value. But there must be similarity. It must correspond with what the teacher is actually feeling here. And I'm going to explain that. Don't worry, I'm going to explain that. So I have to share this files just for you guys. Just take note of this teacher's report form I am showing you. I'm going to be explaining something in number three. So look at that number three. You have Roman figure one, you have Roman figure two, you have Roman figure three, and you have average. Teachers already understand how to do this. Yes, they understand how to do this. If you don't, if you're a chemistry educator, maybe you are new to the system, your school is just approved, you have not been doing this, you can always chat me. I'm always available to help out. Okay. So, but take note, I'm going to be explaining something in number three, which is where they wrote Roman figure one, Roman figure two, Roman figure three, then they wrote average. So back to what I want to. So I want you to take your time to listen to this video. Please watch this video carefully. Watch this video carefully so that you see where you are making mistakes from. Where you are making mistakes from. Let me start from the table. Number one, things to note. The things to note. Let me start from the table. Of course, for your number one, you are going to draw a table, you are going to tabulate your table, okay? And your table is going to be like this. I want to believe you know that by now. Must have been taught in your various schools. You have your bullet readings, okay? Here you have your bullet readings. Very important. Your units are very important. If the units are not stated, your mark will be deducted. This is where your marking starts from. So as a student, please be patient, okay? And very, very important, take note of all these things. These are where you are going to lose marks. Bullet readings, there must be units. Very, very important. There must be units. After your bullet readings, you have your final readings, okay? You have your final readings. You have your initial readings. I want to believe this is clear. You have your initial readings, okay? Then here we have our rough, very important. That's in centimeter cube. The unit is very important. You have our, then we have our first titration. That's in centimeter cube also. I'm sure you must have been taking through all this. This one is just like a reminder. Second in centimeter cube also. Then we have our third. That's if you are doing the third one, you have centimeter cube. Okay. Please, it is a table. It has to be well tabulated. It has to be well tabulated, please. It has to be well tabulated. Okay. So we have this. This is my table. Of course, you are doing an exam that day. It has to be well tabulated. So from here, then I have volume of acid used. Definitely all these are in centimeter cube. Very important. So tabulate your table. Take your time to do all these things. Take your time to do all these things. Very important. Take your time to do all these things. So the final readings, drawing a line, very important. Drawing a line, drawing a line here too. Please take your time to do all these. These are where the marking starts from. Don't be too in an haste. You want to finish up on time and submit. This is Waec. I'm not doing first to finish. Students, you know what I'm talking about now. I'm not doing first to finish. Oh. You have to take your time to do all this because this will determine if you'll be getting A1 or you will not. So here again, I roll this. Take your time to do all these things. Take your time to do all these things. I want to believe this is clear. Now, this is my table. Very important. Of course, this is in centimeter cube also. And decide to, no, centimeter cube. This is also in centimeter cube. But sometimes after putting this centimeter cube, you can decide to leave all these ones. But if you have that time, you can put that. So very important on your table. Let us know the volume of your pipette. Definitely. Let's know the volume of your pipette. So the volume of the pipette, most times in school it is 25 centimeter cube, but check your own. You might be using 20 probably, but check it. Volume of pipette, very important. Then your indicator. If it is methyl orange, if it is phenolphthalein, any one out of those two. So let's assume it is methyl orange. If it is phenolphthalein that you have used on that day, you put phenolphthalein as the indicator. I want to believe this is clear. So the first thing you will notice in this table is that this table is well tabulated, number one. There is mark for that. Well tabulated, number one. Number two, the units are in place. Look at everything that is here. The units are in place. Very important. The units are in place. I want to believe this is very clear. The units are in place. Now, let's take for example, look at this. Let's take for example my initials are 0.000, just an assumption, 0.00. Another thing you need to note here is that very important, let me be writing them here, is that your table must be to 2 decimal place. Do you get that now? Your tables, the values in your table, must be to 2 decimal places. Very important. There is mark for that too. To 2 decimal places. Very, very important. Now look at this. Let's take for example your rough is 24.50. I'm giving an example and I want to explain something here. Very important. Some people will just carelessly lose this mark. Now, for your first, second, third, there is a place for what we call concordant values. I will show you in the file I just shared. Concordant values. And when your values are concordant, the marks for it is 8 marks. So out of the possible 50 marks, you can just, effortlessly score 8 marks when your values are concordant. I'm going to share that file I shared again so that you see it. Two concordant values. What's the meaning of two concordant values? It means that out of these three values you want to write, let's say for example, my first time after I did my rough was 24.50, my second, just on my first now, this is my rough was 24.50. Let's assume my first now is 24.20. Then my second probably is 24.10. Then my third, 24.20. Now, what did you notice here? There are concordant values here. And what do you mean by concordant values? Please, you have to take note of this thing. Concordant values means that these your values in your table are not that far from themselves. Yes, they are not that far from themselves. And that's the reason why I always advise my students that 2 out of those 3 values should be the same. Concordant values means they are not far from themselves. Yes, 2 concordant values is important here. And that is just 8 marks. I'm going to show you in that file. So the meaning of you having concordant values is that you have carefully done the practical. That's what you are telling the examiner. You have carefully done the practical. That's the meaning. When you have concordant values, it means that you have carefully done the practical. Do you get that now? So there are marks for it. Yes, there are marks for it because the values, concordant values means they are within range. You can see the first one, 24.20, the second one, 24. I'm not talking about my rough now, I'm talking about the first, second, third now. You can see that the first one is 24.20, second titration 24.10, third titration 24.20. Do you see that now? It means that my values are concordant because they are within range. If you look at the difference between them, is around 0.10. In fact, two are even the same. I don't know if that is, I don't know if you are getting that. They are within range. Not like your first title is 24.50. Your second one is 24.80. Your third one is 25.00. These things are not concordant. They are non-concordant. They are non-concordant. And you have just lost 8 marks. If you do something like this, you have just lost 8 marks. Do you see? So if you look at my own, if you look at it, they are within the 0.10 range. And that's why I always advise my students. If you have done the titration carefully, your values should be concordant. Concordant means they should be very close to each other. Very, very important. They should be very close to each other. So that's the meaning of concordant. Let me show you in the file I just shared so that you see it. Let me show you in the file I just shared. Let me show you the file I just shared so that you see it. Can you see? Let me share the file now. Look at that. Number 1, titration. Do you see that now? 2 concordant titles. Do you see that? 2 concordance titles. 4 times 2 equals 8 marks. Can you see? You have just gotten 8 marks effortlessly. And that's why for me, the method I used to use, for me, I usually tell my students that make sure that 2 of the values you have used, 2 out of 3 of those your values must be the same. That's the instruction I used to give them. So I don't confuse them. I'll tell them, make sure you titrate to an extent that 2 out of the 3 values, after you have titrated your rough, 2 out of those 3 values are the same. With that, it will make you to be concordant. That's my advice for them. That's my advice for them. So 2, that's what I tell them. So you can do that too as teachers, if you're a student too. Be very accurate to a point that 2 out of those title values are the same. And that's why you can see in the marking gap. Do you see that? The row titration, 2 concordant titles, 4 times 2. So which means with this thing I have done here, I already had 8 marks. with this thing I just did. Just this my concordant values 24.20 first, 24.10 second, 24.20 third. I have gotten 8 marks out of possible 17 marks that you are getting for number one. You have gotten 8 marks. Did you see that? These are how students lose mark. Imagine some students will come here and the values are just wide. You have just lost 8 marks. I want to believe you are learning. Imagine number one now, you have 17 marks. Out of 17 marks, you have lost 8 marks. That means it is remaining 9. How can you see that? Which means calculation is still there. You have not done it. But for this, you have gotten 8 marks effortlessly. And that's why I'm showing you this, to see that I'm not just saying all this. I am talking based on experience and based on the marking guide Waec provides every year. This is the way it comes. Titration, 2 concordant titles, 8 marks. So please, very, very important. If you can make 2 out of the 3 to be the same, it will help you. 2 out of, meaning, let's take for example, like the title. Sometimes your teacher might be lenient, tell you the range. Maybe your teacher told you the range. Sometimes your teacher will want you to perform the practical yourself. And that's why we have this YouTube channel. We're going to be doing the practical 2 year. You're going to be seeing the way we did it. Sometimes your teacher might want to give you the range. So let's say, for example, the teacher told you that the title value range is around 29.50. Can you see? 29.50, which means my rough, for me, my rough, I can just do something like this. Just giving an example. My rough, I can do around 29.90. Then I'll do my first to be 29.50, which is the range my teacher told me. My second to be 29.50. My third to be 29.60. I've just passed an information here for students that are wise, that are smart. So if your teacher gives you range, you can even design your table to agree with the range your teacher has given you. I've just passed an information. I'll not dwell more on that. So, but if you look at these two, look at my rough, because I will not be using my rough to average. Most times you don't use it. You can use it, but most times I usually advise students so that I don't give them too much information. And when I give them too much information, they might be confused. So I usually tell them, don't use your rough. It's not like they cannot use it. Yes, I'm just hearing that for the very first time. You can actually use your rough in your averaging, but so that I don't give you a lot of information and you get confused. Don't use your rough. Now look at my first, 29.50. Do you see my second, 29.50? Do you see my third, 29.60? These are concordant. So with just these values, I already have 8 marks. With just these values, I have 8 marks already. So take note, these are places you lose mark as students. Not even marks, because 8 marks is a whole lot of marks. Okay, so pay attention to that. So very, very important, your value must be concordant. And for the volume of acid used, we can now subtract. Here to be 29.50, here becomes 24.20, here becomes 24.10, right? Here becomes 24.20. I want to believe this is clear. Now, very important, you are going to lose mark again if you interchange your final and your initial. Some students will make that mistake. They'll go and write initial first before final. No, the final has to be before the initial because you are subtracting. So take note of that. You can lose mark there too. I think you'll be losing around 2 marks there. You'll be losing around 2 marks there. So very, very important. Take note of that. So now, so I've explained concordant, and I want to believe you understand that. Now, I shared the teacher's report. Let me share it again. Do you see the teacher's report? Do you see that now? Let me share that teacher's report again so that I want to explain something here. I've finalized the issue of concordance. You already understand how you are now losing 8 marks. You can see you have lost a lot of marks, 8 marks, but I'm sure you know what to do now. Okay, so let me go to this place now. Very, very important. Now look at something. This is the teacher's report. Can you see it? Look at the teacher's report now. Do you see that the number 3 now? I'm emphasizing on the number 3. I'm emphasizing on the number 3. Look at the number 3. They wrote Roman figure 1, Roman figure 2, Roman figure 3, and what? And average. Now look at this. If your teacher recorded in the report form, just an example, that is first title, because your teacher is going to record 3-2 and average is 19.10, recorded the second one to be 19.10, and recorded the third one to be 19.20. Do you see that? Or let me use this then. Let me use this 19.20. So which means the average, the teacher is going to record that in the report form too. So you have to do 19.10 plus 19.10 plus 19.20, okay, divide by 3. So meaning the average for your teacher, the average your teacher recorded is the average your teacher recorded is 19.13 centimeter cube. Don't forget, these are in centimeter cube. This is also in centimeter cube. This is also in centimeter. This is what your teacher recorded. Please pay attention to this. These are places you lose mark, and I will state it. I will tell you, you know, how you are losing mark, and I will show you in the guide so that you see all these things. These are the reasons why you are not getting A1. It's not because you have not actually done well, but because you have omitted little information. Now, this is how they will mark you for Waec. Waec will now say, Waec will say the candidate average title. Do you see that now? The candidate, because your title value will be compared to what your teacher has actually written. I don't know if that is clear. Yes, it will be compared to what your teacher has written. I don't know if that's clear. So if your average title, let's take for example, this is your teacher's title, your own average title is now, is different from your teacher by plus or minus 0.15 centimeter cube. That means you'll be given 4 marks. If it differs by plus or minus, I will explain, 0.20 centimeter cube, you have just 3 marks. If it is within plus or minus 0.30 centimeter cube, you are going to have just 2 marks. Why? If it is within plus or minus 0.40 centimeter cube, you are going to have just 1 mark. So which means if it's more than this, you might not actually have mark for that thing that you have done. You are surprised? Yes. Let me show you. Let's take for example, this is my teacher. This is what my teacher has recorded. But for me, in my table, this is what I recorded. Now pay attention. This is what I recorded. 19 in my table as a student now. I recorded 19.50, 19.60, 19.60. Now let's divide this by 3 and see what you will be getting as a student. 19.50 plus 19.60 plus 19.60. Divide by 3. Sorry, let me do that again. 19.50 plus 19.60 plus 19.60, okay, plus another 19.60, okay. So let's now divide by 3. So let's divide by 3 now. 19.56. Look at that. So which means my own average as a student is 19.56 centimeter cube. That's mine. Now let's subtract. This is your own average title. This is your teacher average title. Do you see? Let's subtract it and see how far is it from your teacher's own. Minus 19.13. That's about 0.43 difference. Do you see that? So you are just going to get either 1 mark or they will not even award you mark. Do you see that? Which means that the more your average title is far from what your teacher has recorded, the more mark you lose. I don't know if somebody is still with me. The more your average title is far from your teacher's title, from what your teacher has recorded, the more you lose mark. So let's say, for example, maybe a student now, this is my teacher's title. Don't forget, this is the teacher's own. This is what the teacher has recorded in the report form. But for a student, the student had 19.20, 19.20 again, 19.10. This is another student now. Okay, this is another student. Let's see the average of this student. That would be 19.20 plus 19.20 plus 19.10. Divide 3. This is 19.16. Look at this. The average of this one now is 19.16 centimeter cube. Let's see the difference. 19.16 minus what the teacher recorded in the report form that you will not be seeing. The teacher is going to submit it to the supervisor that came, so you are not going to see it. So this one is just around, the difference here between teacher is around the 0.03 difference. You see, because it's 0.03 difference, the mark they will award for you might even be 5, because you can see when it is plus or minus 0.15, which means if your value is far from your teacher's own by is more than 0.5, is 0.15 or less by 0.15, you are going to get 4 marks. If it is more by 0.20 or less by 0.20, you are going to get 3 marks. But look at this one now. They are used 19.20, 19.20, 19.10. The difference between the average title of that student and the teacher is just 0.03. So it's going to get the maximum mark awarded for that average title. Let me show you from Waec. Let me show you from the marking guide so that you will know these things are what you need to take note of. And that's the reason why listen and listen very carefully. Listen to what your teacher is saying in your center. Adhere strictly to the information your teachers are giving you in your center. Some of you want to claim you are too smart. You want to work with other school title values. You want to work with other schools average title. You want to work with what you have seen on YouTube. We are not saying what you are seeing on YouTube is not okay, but your teacher has the final say in your center. Your teacher is the person in command in your center. He's going to fill this in your report form. And immediately your title is far from his or her own, you're going to lose a lot of marks. I want to believe that is clear. So some schools you might be lenient enough, your teacher would have done a lot of practicals with you guys and even show you how to titrate, and probably even before the day you have gotten your title value. Work with that. Make sure that the value you are getting on the day of the exam is closer to the one your teacher has used in practice with you. The one your teacher has probably maybe, he was lenient and he had to perform the practical with you guys to even get titles before that day. Work with that. Don't come and work with what you are seeing on YouTube. We are not saying what you are seeing on YouTube is not correct. But as far as this number one is concerned in Waec, your teacher's title value is important than any title value that you have seen or had or watched. And I have said this on this channel before, that make do with what you have in your center. Listen to your teacher, pay attention to the practicals, do the practical. If you're not doing the practical, probably he has done the practical and giving you an hint of the range of the title value. Please work with that range. Let your title be very close to the range your teacher has given you. It is for your own good, and I want to believe I'm passing a vital information here. Let me show you this thing too. The Waec marking guard. Can you see? Okay, look at that. The 1B now. Can you see the 1B? They said the candidate titles in the table used in averaging should be compared with the teacher's average title. Can you see that? Read again. The candidate title in the table used in averaging should be what? Should be compared with the teacher's average title and marked as follows. Candidate title agree, which means if your title value is within plus or minus 0.15, you have 4 marks. If it's within plus or minus 0.20, you have 3 marks. Can you see? As the title value is going very far from your teacher's own, you are losing marks. 0.30, you have 2 marks. 0.40, you have 1 mark, which means anything that even exceeds 0.40, you don't have any mark, which implies that the summary of this thing I'm saying here is that make sure that your title value is closer to the one the teacher has used and practice with you, or the one the teacher has given you as an hint. Probably the one you have used, you have practiced in class. Definitely, if your teacher will do a good work, you must have done a pre-practical where all this title value would have been determined. Okay, so work with that. Some of you students, you are funny. You are funny. You want to behave like you are smarter. Listen to your teacher. Listen to the title value. I'm emphasizing on this because I know the way student behaves. So please take note of this. Very, very important. You lose a lot of marks in this table if you don't obey simple instructions. I want to believe you are seeing this. Okay, so let's move quickly. Let me still retain this so that you see what I'm saying. Now, do you see they wrote note? That mark as follows. Can you see? Any candidate who answer any part of the question in pencil loses 2 marks just once. So some of you, I don't understand. You will be writing in pencil, or do you see what the marking guard says? Or convert pencil to ink. Some of you say, I don't want to make mistake. I'm afraid. I'm afraid so that I don't make any mistake. You write with pencil first. You now write. You write with pencil first. You now convert to biro. After you have written with pencil, you now write biro on it. You have just lost mark. You are fond of that. You're not supposed to be necessary because I don't know why you cannot write legibly and neatly with a pen. So don't write with pencil. I'm showing you this writing that I'm reading it and I'm explaining it. So don't write with what? With a pencil. Don't write with a pencil. All you are writing is with a pen. Even your table, this titration table, let me show you. This titration table I drew, this table must be with biro or pen. That means what? Pen must be with a pen. You must draw with a pen. You are not drawing with a pencil. You are drawing with a pen. So that's what the marking guard says. Please. So take time to listen to this. I've said that. I've talked about unit. Let me go back to my table. So please, I'm emphasizing on that. Don't write with a pencil. You're writing with a pen all through. So take note of that. Another place you are likely to lose mark. I think I've talked about that. Look at my table, well tabulated, and my unit is everywhere. My unit is everywhere. So please make sure that the units are well, are well written and well highlighted. Let your tables be with units. Very, very important. Now, let me say this again. Very, very important. And I told you your table must be to decimal place like I've done here. You are seeing it here. Very, very important. Now, let me say this and I will show you. Some of you, you are fond of altering all this. You have written, look at my table. I've written 24.50, but you want to make it agree. You have done a mistake. Oh, you now want to make it agree with the teacher's own. You now begin to iterate 25. You now begin to iterate all these tables. As you begin to iterate all those tables, you are losing mark. No alteration. You have to be well organized. Yes, no alteration. Because the alteration means that you are trying to make your title to agree with probably somebody you have copied or your teacher's title. You are going to lose mark. And that's about a 2 or 4 marks. Yes, you are losing 2 to 4 marks out of the possible 17 marks that you want to get from number 1. So it is easier to get all the marks in number 1 because when you listen to these instructions, it will help you. So when you update your table, you come here, you do 20. You have written 24.20. Then you have 24.70. Come here, 24 point. You want to change this one to 60. You can see you are just losing marks. You are losing marks. Very, very important. So take note of that. Let me highlight that. Let me highlight that here too, so that when you begin to watch this video, so alteration of title values, you lose mark. Alteration of title values. So when you alterate those title values, that's -2 marks. Very important. So don't alterate those title values, please. Another one from the marking guard that is always giving to us mark correct is that cancellation of tables of title and making another table is -4 marks. You know, I'm shouting this at the top of my voice. You have already drawn your table. You now came, oh, I made mistake. This is mistake. You now strike it. You know the way you used to strike now? You strike it. You strike it. It. You see that now? You strike it. And I was like, this is not correct. Strike the table. Oh, you have just striked 4 marks. You have just striked 4 mark. Like that's -4 for you. For you to actually strike off your table, cancel a particular table you have drawn, and you are drawing another one. There is no need for you to do another one because you have just lost 4 marks. Okay, you have just lost 4 marks. So take note, cancel. We call it COT in the marking guide. Cancellation of tables of title values. And making another table is -4 marks. Some people will like, chemistry hangout, how do you know all this? That is the marking guide that is always provided for us every year when we mark one. It's -4. Let me show you so that you will see it with evidence. Yeah, look at it. Roman figure IX. Can you see that? Roman figure IX. Cancellation of tables of title values and making another table to be within the range of obtaining the maximum mark, -4 marks. You see that? -4 marks. So you want to do another one because you want to get all the maximum mark. You have lost mark. You are not smart. All these things are in there. So what this marking guide is telling you that you have to be organized. You have to be well organized. Know what you want to do before you put your pen to paper and begin to write. Think first. Be sure of what you are writing. Think first. Don't just put pen to paper and begin to write. Any mistake will prove costly. So that's why you saw it there. Roman figure what? Roman figure IS. Translation of title values and making another table is what? Is -4. And I know you won't want to lose that kind of mark because that is too much. That is too much. So very, very important. And the last one, I've talked about the average. You can see they are still, let me show you again. You can see number 2. They said concordant title average between within plus or minus 0.20 is 1 mark. Averaging correctly evaluated. What are they still telling you here in the marking graph? Let me show you so that I will explain that. You can see the averaging. Concordant values, they are emphasizing on it. So the meaning is that please ensure that your table there are concordant values and make sure that you follow the range of values of your teacher. You must have done that in your school's pre-practical. Your teacher might be lenient again to say this the if you have titrated well, this is the average you should have. This is the average. Please listen to your teacher. He or she is doing you a whole lot of help. If you deviate from that, it's going to prove very, very costly. So I want to believe you get this. You can watch this video again, write all these things I've said so that you don't make mistakes and practice. The exam is in 2 weeks or in 3 weeks thereabouts, 3 weeks thereabouts. So you have to practice all those things. Practice. Make sure you can draw your table without making mistakes. Make sure you don't cancel your title values. Make sure you work within the range of the title values the teacher has told you. When they are performing the pre-practical, make sure you listen attentively, ask questions. Because if you don't and you make mistakes, it will prove costly. And you passing chemistry might be very difficult. And that's why you see a lot of students, when you trivialize this practical, the probability that you are going to get a very good grade is slim. It's very slim. And that's why I'm taking my time to explain this. I had to do this content because I went to different schools. Different schools have been calling me because of the Waec, and I've been taking different students, and I saw they are ignorant of all this. They don't know. Some of them don't know. They have not been taught. And that's why I said, okay, let me just do this for public consumption so that students is going to see this. They're going to know how to organize themselves, know all this so that they don't make, same mistake when they get to the examination. Oh, I want to believe this is very clear. Okay, so let's move to, that's for the table. I've explained a lot of things. Let's now move to the calculations now. Very important. Let me show you this again, the calculation. I'll just show you briefly and I will explain that. Now, look at it, your calculation now. You can see they wrote question 1. They still emphasized on it. 2 concordant titles is 8 marks. You can see averaging is 2 marks. That's 10 marks already. Without even, you have not even started solving. Can I shock you? Even those solvings, if you get your table right and you don't get all those solvings correctly, the probability you are going to pass is still very high, because those calculations are just one marks. Can you see them? They are just one marks, one mark, one mark. You see them? That's one mark. You can see one mark, one mark. Very, very important. So that table, carries a whole lot of marks. That table can afford you with around 10 marks out of the probably the obtainable 17 you can have for question one. So guys, take note of that table. And let me talk about this. Let me talk about this. Okay, that's that. Just take a brief look at this before I begin to explain. You can see that now. You can see concordant values. You can see the B when they were working their the calculations. Very important. Make them subject to formula. Your units correct to 3 significant figure. I've said that before in my video. I've always said that in most of my videos. When you are calculating concentration in mole per dm cube, most times you're expected to be in 3 significant figures. I'm still going to show that when instruction comes for this year. We'll explain all those things, but I still want you to note it. So very important. So now let's go back to the screen. Let's go back to the screen. So let's take, for example, you are calculating and you are using this formula CAVA, just an example, because this is actually a popular formula. CBVB equals to, if you want to use this formula, please state it out. There is mark for it. You have seen it in the marking guide. There is mark for it. Probably you are now calculating for, you are calculating for CB. You want to make CB the subject here. Write it out. CB equals to CAVANB over VBNA over VBNA. Do you see that now? For this one, for you stating the formula, this is 1 mark already. 1 mark already for you stating this formula. For you are looking for CB and you have made this subject of formula, this is another 1 mark. Before you now begin to impute the values, from what you have from your table and the result you have gotten, you can now say CB, maybe in the question, the concentration is 0.056 times the volume of acid, probably 19.13, times number of base, probably 1, over VB, that's volume of pipette 25 times 1. You can see. Then you can now say the CB. I'm just using this as an example. I'm just using this as an example. So I can now say 0.056 times 19.13 divide 25. I'm just giving this as example. So this is now CB will now be 0.042. You have said in 3. You have said that before now. I think I made mention of that. Very important that when you are averaging, I think I've talked about that. When you are averaging to 3 significant figures. So I just say, because here I have 0.04285. So I can just say 0.042. Okay, let me just say 0.042. Okay, 3. Let me say 3 because I have 0.0428. So let me just say 0.043. Okay, mole. The unit is very important. Mole per dm cube. Because it has to be in 3 significant figures. So just say 0.043. If you are not seeing it, that's 0.043 mole. I'm just using this as an example. So, and if you look at this, the units were stated, so then I'll now have 1 mark again for getting this. So it is possible for you to get the answer, but you have omitted all these steps, which means that is already minus 3 marks for you. You are just going to get this 1 mark that is here. I want to believe that is clear. So very important. Let's say, for example, you are working on mass. You want to calculate mass. All those things has to be stated. You want to calculate for mass. Probably you want to calculate for mass. It has to be stated that the formula you want to use is mass equal to mole times molar mass. There is 1 mark for this one. Do you see that now? Then before you now begin to input the mole, let's say 0.043. And just example, I'm just using this as example, 36.5. Then you write the answer. Let me say times 36.5. Write the answer. That's around 1.564. So I can just say 1.564, just mass will now be 1.564 gram per dm cube, something like that. I want to believe this is clear. So something like that. So what am I emphasizing on here? I'm emphasizing on number 1 to 3 significant figure, especially for mole, 3 significant figure, and the right unit. Because if this is supposed to be a mole per dm cube and you wrote mole per centimeter cube, you will be penalized. So know the units. I'm still going to do all this in my video. Okay, I'm still going to do all this in my video, and all these secret secret that can just make you score A1, A1 effortlessly in all this exam, especially chemistry exam. So I want to believe somebody is with me. I want to believe this is clear. So please take note of this. Don't trivialize all this information because they are going to penalize you for it. I'm not supposed to share some of these files, but I just had to share it just to make you see that this is what Waec needs from you. These are the guide. And for every marker, they'll follow. For every marker, okay, for Waec, they will always follow this guide and you'll be penalized. That's why you see you have done a whole lot. Imagine this is 50 marks. Practical is 50 marks. Like what we saw, 50 marks. So which means you study an objective, you now carry the remaining 50. So if you have done well here, it means you have done a very good job. That's what I'm saying here. You have done a very good job. So, and that's the reason I've showed you. If you look at that, they wrote 50 marks, which means alternatively they wrote maximum marks obtainable, 50 marks. That's what they wrote. So you cannot tell them the mark they need to allot for each question. They said the practical is 50 marks, and that means we have to be very, very careful. I want to believe that is clear. Let's move to number 2. Let me explain something. That's all about number 1. Don't forget all these things I've said. Cancellation of title values, cancellation of table rather, altering your title values, not using the right unit, and a whole lot of things. Just listen to the video over and over again. You get that. So that is that. Let me go to number 2. Okay, your number 2 is going to be qualitative analysis. And I want you to see, I'll just explain, I'll show the marking gap too for number 2, though this is 2022, but you see the way they record their qualitative analysis. So let's go to number 2 now. Okay, now look at number 2. It said C plus distilled water dissolved to give a pale green solution. That's 1 mark. And they wrote inferences Fe plus. Now, where you are supposed to mention 2 AOs. If you mention 1 AO, you're going to be penalized. So we are still going to be releasing this on the channel. I'm just explaining this so that you see. So very, very important. What is important in your qualitative analysis is those ions. You must know their valencies, because if you are supposed to write Fe2 plus and you wrote Fe3 plus, you have just missed. So that's why I'm showing this. You can see where you are supposed to write 2 AOs must be there. Where you are supposed to write 3 AOs must be there. That's why you have to understand this. But don't be scared. We are going to release video by God's grace. God will help us to be able to predict and come out with a very good content that will help you guys. But I'm just showing this so that you understand. Check number 2. You can see the wrote precipitate. And for that white precipitate, the wrote SO3 minus, CO3 minus, SO4 minus, and F minus present. Do you see that now? So you can see the way they are recording. I just want you to see the way they are recording it, so that when I begin to release my videos, you already understand how marking guard is, how they record their own, and coupled with the one I will do again before the exam, you will actually understand. So very, very important. You can see if you decide to score, look beneath. Instead to score, after that B, to score, the ions must have been identified above. Do you see that? That's conclusion. I've said this before on my video. Because for qualitative analysis too, you must learn to conclude that very particular analysis. Because after you have gotten the ions, you must be able to tell us 2 things about those ions. I'm going to do a content on that. I'll do a content on that. And you can see the number 2 alone is 18 marks. You can see that too. These are the way they just look at this. For teachers that might want to use this very particular marking guide, I will be kind enough to send it so that I can use it. The success of this student is our priority, and that's why I have to do this for everybody to be able to see it so that they will learn from it. So you can see the number 2. You can see the way they are recording the ions present, NH3 gas from NH4 plus. Look at that, NH3, 1 mark. Gas from NH4 plus, 1 mark. So there are procedures to these things. There are ways you need to do it, but don't worry. As I've said, I'm just doing this so that you understand it. So when I begin to release video, you know the reason why I'm doing this, the reason why I'm doing it like this, the reason why I'm doing it like this. So I want to believe that the total mark for number 2 is 18 marks. I want to believe that is correct. Let's move to number 3 very quickly before we call it today. Number 3 is just a general questions. Straightforward questions. If you get it, you get it. If you don't get it, they'll fail. There is no too much stories in number 3. Can you see that they are asking how gas are collected? That's what they're asking in that 2022. And you can see downward displacement of air. You get 1 mark. If you get it, you get it. If you don't get it, you don't get it. That's just it. If you know it, you know it. If you don't know it, you don't know it. So that's just it. That's why the number 3 carries 15 marks. That's a whole lot of marks. 15 marks, which means the number 2 that is 18 marks. You see that 18 marks for number 2. Number 3 is 15 marks. Definitely number 1 will be 17 marks. Because 17 plus 15, am I right? Our number 2 is 18 marks, right? Why our number 3 is 15 marks. Is that not? That's 33. Then minus 50. What are we going to be having? Minus 50, if I'm not mistaken. Minus 50. What are we going to be having? That's 17. So it's 17 marks. So you can see it's a direct question. If you get it, you get it. If you don't get it, if for this one now you are written maybe upward displacement wrong, they will just write it for you. So it contains what I've learned in theory and practical. You have to pay attention to them. So number 3 is a direct response. But for your number 1 and number 2, especially for number 1, you can get the full 17 marks by doing all those things I ask you to do and doing all those things I ask you not to do. But for number 3, if you see number 3 is just a direct response. That's C, they're asking us to use of simple or fractional for 1 mark like that. Almost everything is 1 mark, So it's just a direct chemistry. So thank you for joining us today. I want to believe you have learned a lot. I'm going to create a group, but I will disseminate that before the end of the month, probably, so that all Waec students can join and we can see how we can help you too on physics, chemistry, biology, God helping us. But I will drop that very particular information later. Please go through this, watch this over and over again. You are a student, your colleagues will need this. Don't be selfish. Share this video with them. Don't be selfish. Share it with them. Their success should be your priority too. So share it with them so that they will know where they are losing mark. They know how to prepare. They know the instructions to follow. They know what to do. They know what they should not do. Okay. So very, very important. You can still listen to the video over and over again so that you can, understand all what I have said in the video. So thank you guys. For chemistry teachers too, please, the exam is fast approaching and there is a video that talks about laboratory reagent preparation. They are still going to be coming with the instructions for teachers. Will be asked to prepare reagents, field reports, and all that. If you're still finding it a bit difficult or you have a challenge as regards that, you're just starting the teaching profession, you're teaching chemistry, this is your first time, there's no crime in that. We just have to seek, you have to seek knowledge to be able to do all those that. So just seek relevant knowledge in that field and it's available. You can always message me. I'll be, I'll be happy to help you out. Seeing all of us grow together is one of my dreams. I want to see everybody grow so that we can impart these children, their future leaders, and they are actually depending on us. So that we get the right way to teach them, we do the right thing so that we don't put their future at risk. So for students, share this video, very important. Share it to your colleagues, tell them about this channel. We are still going to be uploading video for 2024 Waec practical. So subscribe to this channel if you have not subscribed. Click on the notification bell so that when I upload that video, you are going to be notified. Thank you guys. I love you. Thanks for watching today's video. God bless you. Thank you guys. Wish you success in the